And or the easier option is you can type the message here. Okay. Quick question before I start off. How many of you are entrepreneurs? Can you just type how many of you are entrepreneurs? You can type in the question box here. No one is responding. Can we take a quick head count? How many of you are entrepreneurs here? Okay, one went up. Okay. I hope all of you can hear me because I don't seem to be getting any response from you. Yeah, somebody has unmuted. Okay. Okay, we'll start. It doesn't seem to be happening. We'll start. So, say about 3 years ago, no, not 3 years ago, I think about 5 to 8 years ago, nobody had heard of this animal called a mentor, at least not in the entrepreneurial space. We all spoke about mentor, and largely that was in the context of my father was my mentor or my teacher was my mentor. And this mentoring was largely with a view to life. You know, my value system, my philosophy, my ideology, my love for books, my love for a particular author, my love for a particular, domain. These things typically were referred to, and it was in this context that you spoke about a mentor. I think I remember when I came back to India in 2005, no one, absolutely no one had heard of a mentor in the context of entrepreneurship, and nobody, because hadn't heard of it, didn't understand the relevance of who a mentor is and what it is that he can bring to the table. So the picture you see is of Charles Darwin. I mean, I meant it tongue-in-cheek that he's a new species who seems to have emerged, and he seems to have escaped Darwin's classification. A good place to start is who is not a mentor, because I think that's, I've always found polarized, starting points way better to understand who is or who isn't. So who is not a mentor? An advisor, for instance, is not a mentor, largely because there is no responsibility there. I mean, in India, because we're in a democracy, everybody has an opinion and everybody thinks his opinion is right. And not only do we have an opinion, we also believe in our fundamental rights to air our opinion and to give advice to people. So really, there is no accountability there. So an advisor is definitely not a mentor. A consultant, again, is not a mentor because largely a consultant's role is to postulate, is to postulate that if you do all these things, you will become successful. They'll give you fancy reports. They will cost you an arm and a leg. Is it handheld, outcome-focused mentoring? The answer is no. Possibly a coach is somebody who comes closest to a mentor, because a mentor, amongst other things, is a coach as well. So mentoring is a more comprehensive concept, but he is also a coach to a small extent. Who is a coach? Coach is somebody who will get you to do, get an entrepreneur to do get a sports person. I mean, coach is typically in the context of sports, right? Get an athlete to perform as per a short-term goal, like there is National Olympics. So you have to coach him to deliver, a gold medal during the Olympics. Mentor, on the other hand, is somebody whom, who is expected to work with the entrepreneur so that the entrepreneur achieves both short-term and long-term goals. In the process, he also coaches the entrepreneur. When I say long and short-term goals, it is the organization's long and short-term goals. But the process of coaching is for the entrepreneur himself. Upskilling him, giving him more knowledge about the domain, about the marketplace, fostering an attitude, of becoming customer-centric and becoming nimble and flexible and all of that. Okay, so part of what mentor does is also coach, but it is not everything. So who is a mentor? A mentor typically is somebody who is process-driven. Like, for instance, as a mentor, if you are mentoring an entrepreneur, let's say a startup. So this 22-year-old kid has come to you with an idea in his head. Okay, you have to get him market ready and take him to market. That's the process that you have to work in. So typically, what does it entail when you say get a mentor, get an entrepreneur market ready? It means getting him to flesh out his product, put a face to his customer, define a customer acquisition strategy, get him to conceive of what kind of teams he needs for the next 3 years, his innovation pipeline, collateralization, how is he going to position his brand, what are the collaterals he's going to create, is it just a website, is it a website and a Facebook page, is he going to be on Pinterest, is he going to do Google Ads, is he going to cross-list on other online portals, all the collaterals that you need to create, and how is he going to position himself? Is he positioning himself as a low price point mass product? Or is he going to position himself as a luxury product, a premium product, hence high price point, but lower customer base? These are all, and unfortunately, most entrepreneurs think that branding and positioning I will do when I become big, which is not really correct. A startup has to worry about branding and positioning literally from day one, because that is how he will get his customer centricity right. Otherwise, he'll go all over the place. He also has to be outcome focused. There is no point somebody giving you advice when there is no end in sight, right? So there has to be a clear definition of why am I doing this and what do I expect at the end of it. So a good mentor, whom you, if you are mentoring a startup, let's say, at a concept stage, a good mentor is somebody who will walk the entrepreneur through the entire process of fleshing out the product, putting a face to the customer, customer acquisition strategy, brand collaterals, team building, estimating resources for the next 3 years, drawing up the P&L, writing the business plan, creating an innovation pipeline, and going to market. That's the entire process. So each one has to be a milestone in that sense of the term. And the moment you talk of a larger outcome, which in turn is milestoned, then automatically you know that everything in the process is measurable. Measurable not just by you, but also by your mentee. That is the relationship really you're looking at. A mentor, therefore, mentoring, therefore, is a milestone-driven, outcome-focused, result-oriented, measurable process. Without this, you would just be an advisor, faffing and giving advice out of thin air. He's your mentor. I have heard many mentors say that, oh, I don't like controversies. I usually tell my mentee what he wants to hear. He wants to be told that, he's got a brilliant product and line lag jayega the moment he goes to market. That's what he likes to hear, and that's what I will tell him. Absolutely not. You are not just the devil. You're not just the devil's advocate, but you are the devil. You have to tell him, you're not here in the business of winning brownie points vis-a-vis your mentee. You have to tell him very, very clearly what is wrong, what is right, and whatever is wrong, how it can be fixed. So it's not just that you're critiquing it, you're also showing him options of how else things can be done. Like I said, he's also your augmentor. He's going to upskill you, he's going to give you more knowledge, he's going to connect you, he brings a network to the table, right? He makes you stronger, he makes you more robust, particularly by way of the network. I keep hearing from, startups, kids who come to me and say, Nandini ma'am, do I need to create a legal entity? Can't I just operate it in my name? Why do I need to set up a company? I have an idea, I'll make a product out of my idea, I'll take it to market. Why do I need a company for it? Okay? And it is the mentor who tells him the whys and the why nots. Not only whys and the why nots, but how to go about it. He will connect him to wakilsearch.com, for instance, and say, if you're serious about building the business, it's good that you have to register a private limited company. Your options are proprietorship, partnership, LLP, private limited company, and one proprietor company. It's a new format that has come called OPC, one proprietor company, which is pretty much like proprietorship except that liability is limited. So what are the merits and demerits of each of these options, and why you think LLP or a private limited company is better, knowing the vision of the entrepreneur. The mentor is the one who recommends. Mentor needs guy to develop his website. So it's the mentor who connects. Somebody needs an agency to manage digital footprint, because that's how the entrepreneur is looking to acquire customers and engage with his customers. Mentor connects him to somebody in the digital media space. And when I say connect, it's not just that at whatever price points. For a startup, price points are very, very important, right? So there is no use a mentor recommending, oh, go to O&M, they will manage your digital footprint. O&M will manage your digital footprint, but will cost you an arm and a leg and much more, right? So the mentor needs to be able to bring a network to the table that is relevant for the entrepreneur. That's number one. Number two, also in terms, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So if you're going into an online e-commerce portal, it makes sense that you talk to stalwarts like Mr. Vaidishwaran, who you remember in 1999 started fabmart.com. 1999 internet at best was dodgy in India, but he started, full of enthusiasm, he started. And over the last, decade and a half, I think he has learned lessons that could be invaluable to somebody who's, thinking of starting an e-commerce portal. So what the mentor brings to the table, when I say he's an augmentor, really what he brings to the table is knowledge, skill, and network. Knowledge a lot of people could possibly give you. Skill, somebody who's good at coaching could upskill you. But somebody who can bring knowledge, skill, and network, and hope that in the process he will also mentor your attitude. See, I keep saying this. An entrepreneur is his brand's biggest ambassador. And as his mentor, it is your job to ensure that he becomes its most robust ambassador. And you can do that, attitudes can be cultivated, fortunately. You can do that by making sure that with knowledge and with skill, an entrepreneur also develops the right attitude to the marketplace, to his team, to the product, to the competitors, and to the whole space at large. Okay. And like I said, I think I would lay tremendous amount of emphasis on attitude. By and large, I have seen if a startup entrepreneur has good attitude, he builds a successful company. People with poor attitudes generally kind of fall by the wayside, which is, I always say, when people talk about startup mortality being very high in the first year of operation, and people attribute very many different reasons, I always say bad attitude is one of the primary reasons. And I think it's the it's the mentor's responsibility to make sure that the entrepreneur has the right attitude. Now, I will make a distinction between two kinds of mentors. One is a domain mentor and the other is an organization mentor. Let's say, you're doing a product like Book My Show, and you're going to do all your coding on, let's say, .NET or Java. So you need somebody from the .NET or the Java space, who can mentor you in product development. Okay, that's the domain mentor. You have to decide, as a mentor, you have to decide, am I going to be a domain mentor or am I going to be an organization mentor? Organization mentor typically will have a smattering of knowledge of organizations, not in depth, but he will stay with the startup to mentor him to become market ready and go to market. And in the process, he will also bring in other domain mentors. So organization mentor is a much wider, more long-term, more far-reaching kind of a mentor. In the 1,500 plus entrepreneurs that we have mentored, I have seen very few actually come to us for domain mentoring alone. Most of them have a fair idea of their product. They have an even fairer idea of how to go about building the product. Maybe they need a little insight here and there. But largely what they come to us for is, how do they build an organization, a business organization around their idea? That largely is the reason why they come to us. Now, I have seen domain mentors can be anybody, in the sense anybody from the domain. If you go to, an Ashish or a Sachin Bansal, and you want to talk to them about e-commerce and Flipkart's own experience, they will be able to tell you not only about the domain, but they will also be able to tell you about how to build, your business, how to define your business model around an idea that you have. Okay, so it's not just about domain knowledge that you would approach them for. Domain knowledge people could be of all sizes, shapes, ages. Even if you see our network on our website, karmaconnect.in, you will see many of them are quite young, under 30. It's not that they are gray and a lot of experience and they're old. Largely in the technology space and in the digital media space, you find that many of them are very young, very upbeat, very enthusiastic to share what they know, and they're good guys to have on your side. They're good guys, to be mentors. Organization mentor typically has to have had a P&L responsibility, has to have had work experience in corporates where he has handled, strategic business units independently, has had P&L responsibility independently, and even though he didn't bring capital to the table, he worked in large organizations, he still built, his business within the organization like he owns the business. Okay, so in other words, right from an idea to taking it to market, he behaved like an entrepreneur. So typically these guys are good to be org mentors. Many times I've heard, I keep getting mails saying, oh, Nandini, I've been in the corporate sector 15 years, been there, done that, worked pretty much in large MNCs, and now, I have come back to India and I think I should give back to society. So I want to be a mentor for startups because there's so much that I can share. I know it all, and therefore I think I would be a good mentor in your network. The moment I see a mail like this, it puts me off. To me, mentoring is a two-way process. A mentor not only teaches his mentee, he also learns from his mentee. And in the process of teaching his mentee, he learns that much more. Mentor is not a god, right? He cannot say, I know everything. I've been there, done that. What a mentor ideally should say is, I know some. You as a mentee know some. Together in the process of mentoring, we will discover much more, which is going to be beneficial to both of us. So a good mentor primarily in my books is somebody who is hungry for learning. Just because he's 45, he's not saying I'm put to pasture. There is no more learning that can happen from me. The moment somebody comes to me with an attitude like that, I don't usually empanel them in our network. Okay, so a good mentor is somebody who's got hunger for learning. And the only reason he wants to be a mentor is not because he wants to do charity and give back to society, but because he believes that at 45, in mentoring, there is this huge and humongous opportunity where his learning curve can remain permanently northward. I think we all die bits and pieces the moment our learning curves stagnate. You must have noticed this. Many people past their prime start dying slowly, intellectually dying slowly, because the hunger for learning goes away. The opportunity for learning goes away. And here are startups that come to a mentor and say, I'm giving you the opportunity. So it's actually the other way. It's actually the startup that is doing you a favor as a mentor. We've mentored, like I said earlier, more than 1,500 entrepreneurs. And that covers close to what? About 300, 350 domains? Now, which lifetime would I have had an opportunity to learn about 350 domains? I mean, I keep saying this, I must be God's favorite child, because this is a huge privilege that, you've got on your platter, that you're able to learn about 350, 400 domains in the process of mentoring. So to my mind, a good mentor is somebody who's hungry for learning. A good mentor is somebody who is willing to give time. I constantly hear from startups, at TIE meetings, at NASCAR meetings, that, yeah, there is a mentor, but you know what? If I send him a mail today, he'll reply 6 months from now. I would have forgotten what I mailed him about. When I call him at 8 o'clock at night, he gets very upset with me and he says, no, please don't call me at these times. Now, work does not stop just because your mentor is not available, right? So if you want to be a participant mentor, an actively participating mentor, it is imperative that you give time to your mentee. It can be, because it's a process-driven mentoring engagement, give him scheduled, pre-scheduled, predetermined timelines. So, it works effectively for both of you. The journey to me as a mentor is the ability, they say good teachers are those who identify the potential in a student and help him to achieve that potential. To my mind, great teachers are those who identify potentials nobody knew existed, not just potential that is visible, potential that nobody knew existed, and make you robust to achieve that potential. Make sure that you build that robustness, that internal strength. So to help you become not just who you are, you may be a good musician. It's not just that, a good teacher will make you a better musician, but a great teacher will help you go beyond music. Maybe the rhythm in music will also make you a great animator. So it's this great teacher who will help you recognize not just music, but even in animation. I would be a wonderful, subject. I would be a creative, brilliant animator because I understand the domain of rhythm. You understand what I'm saying? So to my mind, a mentor's anthem is to help the mentee not just become who he is, but more than that, much, much more than that, to become what he is capable of becoming. And that capability of becoming, even he may not know. But a great teacher is somebody who recognizes that, identifies that, and then gets his mentee to build on that. Okay? So any questions? We're open now. You can unmute and ask me a question on the audio, or you can type the question on the question box. Questions? Why does it have to be gender specific? Yeah, the question is, you mentioned about mentoring. Any specific on mentoring women-led owned business? I don't understand why there has to be, it has to be gender specific. Let me answer it both ways. If you are a mentee, mentoring process is the same, even if you are a woman. If you are a mentor, mentoring process is the same if you are a woman. But the difference, I think, when you are a woman mentor is that, there is a certain intuitiveness that women bring to the table. There is a certain amount of soft skill that women bring to the table. So I think the connection you establish with your mentee is way beyond what a male mentor would establish with his mentee. And I'll explain what I mean by this. Many of my mentees talk about their personal issues. I have to quit the company, but my wife is not for it. Will you talk to her? Will you explain to her that I have a brilliant product? She will listen to you if you explain. I don't think, a mentee would tell me if I were a guy. Come and talk to my parents, Nandini ma'am. They're not letting me, sit out of placements. I'm very serious about building the business, but they don't listen to me. Will you please talk to them? Nandini ma'am, they want me to get married. They're not listening to me. Will you talk to my parents? Ask them to give me 2 years to build the company. If my company doesn't do well after that, I promise I will get married. These are all typical things which come because I'm a woman mentor. I think probably these wouldn't have come up if I were a guy. So the intuitiveness, the soft skill, and the perception that we are more understanding of the challenges and problems in the ecosystem is probably an area where I would see a difference between a male mentor and a female mentor. As far as male and female mentee is concerned, the only complaint I have against women is that we undersell ourselves. We have no respect for what we are doing, therefore we don't command respect from our own family members. I have heard this so often, from guys when I ask them, what does your wife do? Oh, time pass ke liye kuch ghar mein kar rahi hai. And it will transpire that the wife is actually running a software company and it's not just a garage operation, baking or anything. She's doing some serious business. But because she herself glosses it over, nahi, bachche bade ho gaye, so now I think I have some time, so kuch karna cha rahi thi bas. So we undersell ourselves to our own family members, and therefore, so in our whole attitude and demeanor, we undersell ourselves. We don't take ourselves seriously enough, which is why probably nobody else takes us seriously when we say we're entrepreneurs. How do you set timelines and goals at the onset between mentee and mentor? Good question. Like in our process of mentoring, all mentoring engagements are for 6 months. All the things that I talked about, I hope CII will circulate to the audio to all of you who have logged in, so you can listen to it again. So typically all the things I talked about, fleshing out the product, putting a face to your customer, building the team, customer acquisition strategy, resource estimation, brand collaterals, writing the business plan, going to market. Each one of them, if you take 180 days as the final goal post, work backwards and set timelines. Okay, 6 months is 180-day engagement. Don't leave it open-ended. So whatever is the scope, like somebody comes to you saying, I have an idea, take me to market. These are all your milestones. Set those milestones, set timelines. For instance, fleshing out the product, 0 to 60 days. Putting a face to my customer, maybe 15 to 75 days. Because there has to be a bit of an overlap between the two. So set timelines, keeping 180 days in mind as the final goal post. Set timelines for the milestones. Much easier for both of you to track. Then if the mentee is off track, you know to make course correction, and you know to make the adjustments. Is it financial driven or time year driven? What is time year driven? The mentoring process, you're saying? No, in our case, all mentoring we say is for 6 months, but really what is the crux is the final milestone, which is go to market. So in our case, even if it takes more than 6 months, and 99% of the times it takes more than 6 months, even if it takes 9 months, 10 months, in some cases a year, I still stay with the mentee without any additional financial implication. Logic, for whatever reason, most of our mentees work in organizations and build businesses at night. So it's a double whammy for them, right? So it may not always be possible for them to stay on track. Kabhi kabar they get posted outside, a couple of months they lose in the process. Sometimes work pressure becomes intensive, new project comes, they're not able to concentrate on, building their business. There is always, a little bit of an open-niche that happens. So what is, what is the driver here is neither finance nor time. It is the final milestone, which is go to market. Anything else? Are we done? Is Goa scenario on par with India? Far from it. Far from it. See, this is a contradiction, okay? I am excited by the fact that, I've been living in Goa for a little over a year, I think about 14 months. It excites me when I see literally every household has one self-employed person. He's not an entrepreneur in that sense of the term, but he's a self-employed person. He has maybe a small bar, he has maybe a small takeaway joint, he has a small grocery shop. Literally, every family in Goa has a self-employed person. When does he become an entrepreneur? When he builds a business that is sizable, scalable, feasible, profitable. Right now, the self-employed business model is that he manages to put 2 square meals on the table. Okay, even companies like Carasid, I met one of the co-founders, and I said to her, why aren't you guys expanding? Why are you satisfied with 1, 2, 3 outlets in Goa? Why aren't you going to Mumbai? Why aren't you going to Bangalore? Why aren't you going to Nashik? Why aren't you going outside Pune? Okay, so in the self-employed sense of the term, I think Goa is awesome. But in the entrepreneurial sense of the term, Goa is abysmal, far from it. I think largely, I don't know, I have identified 2 reasons in all the time that I have spent here, met so many entrepreneurs, met so many business people. What I have identified is 2 things. One, somehow the typical Goan does not give primacy to education. 2, the big aspiration for every Goan is to become a shippy. So there is no aspiration, to send your son or daughter to an IIT, get her or him through, let him study, let him come up with an idea, let him, start his own business. Somehow no Goan typically thinks of these things. And the only business people I find are people in family businesses, people who go out, study, come back and take over their family business, or young entrepreneurs who are not Goans at all. Like if you see at incubators in Goa, very few are locals. They're all people who have come from outside and have come to Goa because Goa is a lovely place to be. So in terms of that, I think Goa has a long way to go. And as most of you know, we are working with CII, with the government, trying to change some of these things every alternate Tuesday. I write a column in Times of India on this subject. I've been drawing up a blueprint for making Goa entrepreneurial. You can check out tomorrow or day after, the column for this week should appear. So yeah, to answer your question, no, we're a long way off here. Anything else? If there are questions, if you want more clarity or whatever, please do feel free to mail me, Nandini at Nandini, Nandini @ karmaconnect.in, CARMACONNECT.in. Do mail me. Go to Google Play Store and download our app, mobile app called Caterpillar. It's an absolutely game-changing product. It's a digital magazine. And you should subscribe to it. Price points are very low. You can advertise in it. You can list your company like Yellow Pages. If you're looking for people, you can post your job ads. There are lots of features which Caterpillar gives you. I hope all of you go to Google Play Store and download the app and subscribe to it. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nandini Vaidyanathan, for conducting such informative sessions. I'm sure that will help everybody. And all participants, thank you for participating in webinar. I'll send you the link of the recording to everybody for your future reference. Thank you once again for joining in. Thank you.